Normally you're sitting at the thing, and so you're down and I'm up.
I don't have an adjustable office chair. I mean, I guess I could move it up. No,
there you go.
Lights are gonna mess with us some.
Oh, I could always do that. There you go.
Lights up there.
Now we're just messing with everybody. That's all we're doing. Yeah. Hey there, hi there, ho there, out in spray wash land. I don't know why I say that. It's just one of them things I say. Hey there, hi there, ho there.
It's just thing, man.
That's an old thing, isn't it?
It was a beautiful evening. We've got that fall tease right here, so I thought I would do this from the back porch tonight instead of sitting there at the office for 14 hours today.
So was that thing real that we read earlier about the potential for a tsunami in
Yes,
Chicago?
yes, it is. And remember though, you and I are thinking about the tsunami like a tidal wave. That was my first reaction.
Oh, they're thinking hurricane.
Yes, correct. And there is a tropical storm brewing just off. Actually, it became a tropical storm earlier. So that was my thing. I was like, "Holy crap! Yeah, you don't want to be in the middle of a tropical storm there."
Yeah.
And in the middle of a tsunami. But it came up and it took a hard 90 degrees to the west, so they're out of danger. It's going to give them some crappy weather tomorrow, but still, it's not how you want to wind up your vacation in Cabo.
No, yeah, I was totally thinking tsunami, big wave. That they were. I thought that I had seen something about an earthquake somewhere or something, but I hadn't been around, so I'm like, did I miss something? Did I not see something correctly? Did I, whatever? So yeah, okay, cool.
Well, I started freaking whenever you said that, and I called him and we talked, and we were live streaming, and I went to and he said, well, yeah, I guess he's like, well, have you ever been wrong about that? And I was like, no. And have they ever been wrong? He's like, well, sometimes, but he said, well, I guess I'm going to trust the Florida pressure washer to know something about hurricanes. And because it's something we deal with on a regular basis. But that resort got really messed up a few years ago from a bizarre tsunami that came in there and hit it. So.
That's a fact.
Michael, how are you, sir? Welcome everybody that's out there.
Michael O. And Facebook user. And Rich and Maria.
Yes, sir. Wesley Schmidt. Nice to see you, sir.
So is Michael saying that there was an earthquake?
And there was an earthquake as well. There was an earthquake and a tropical storm, but they sent out the tidal wave warning, but then they backed it off. They said that because there was a little bit of confusion, but Hawaii wasn't, and it was actually, it would have been too close. Where that earthquake was too close to really do anything to Cabo, so there's not a problem. But we had some more. Brad and Nikki Williams. They went to mine and Tanya's spot, Marriott Frenchman's Reef, down in St. Thomas, and they had that Category 1 that just slapped Puerto Rico hardcore. St. Thomas is a hop, skip, and a jump from Puerto Rico, but they went. They tried to fly out yesterday, and there's no planes till Thursday, I think he said.
Wow.
So there's.
I know my brother and sister-in-law had a place in Puerto Rico, and then when he passed away, she sold it. I think she just sold it like last year or so. But she went through the last hurricane with it and just devastated the place. Kind of a thing. So I think she's probably glad she got rid of it for this round. Because their place was right on the beach and all that. So
yeah.
It's
and I was we were just messaging back and forth. I was like, well, you okay? And he's like, yeah. He said we can stay in the resort for another night, and then we're like on our own for new lodging for the next 3-4 nights. And I'm sitting there thinking, and we do a fair amount. We go to the islands a couple times a year usually, and that could really jack you up if you were to an extra
got no
week
place to go.
you have no place to go. Everybody's booked up. You were on a budget. I mean, some of these first world problems that you don't think of, that it could really jack you around stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brian's saying it was nasty at the beach in Cabo today. These quakes cause crazy turbulence at the beaches.
Well, like I said, Brian, also remember you got a tropical storm or a tsunami as well out there too.
So enjoy your vacation. Anyhow, this evening we're going to talk a little bit about chemical use and judicious chemical use and some of the things that we've seen posted. And I want to say recently, I mean, these things have been continuously posted for long periods of time. I mean, 10 years, we see some of the same stuff over and over again about, chemical use and just how it's used, where it's used, why it's used. So we wanted to open up a little bit of a discussion. As Ray and I were talking about in the kind of the pre-show, that this really falls under the plant and property side of the class, if you would. So we'll be kind of covering some of the stuff that is in plant and property, but man, a lot of this is just going to be about, what some of the manufacturers say and what is it that we typically see out there a lot of times. Sometimes we see people talking about spraying 100% or 50%, or, is that the right thing to do? When is that the right thing to do? All that kind of stuff. So we're going to kind of cover some of that, and we'll probably ruffle a few feathers, probably, but
probably. Won't be the first, but real quick before we get off this, since it was brought up and Brian's there. I mean, right now you do have Madeline that's right here, just south of you, and I'm assuming but see, it's going to take it came up this way, and it's taking a hard left here, going to the west. So you'll have your winds, whatever winds you have are really already there at this point, maybe a little bit stronger into the night. Nothing horrible though, but National Hurricane has everything, you need to know on this thing. And it just literally popped up right now. So, anyway, so enough about the weather report stuff.
Yeah.
So,
we could do a weather report and probably be more accurate than the weather reporting people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're probably right.
Today's weather is brought to you by Spray Wash and the Spray Wash Academy. And
what was that old movie where there was a weatherman in San Diego, and literally all he did was just tape himself saying the same thing over and over? Old movie back from like the 80s or 90s or something, but it was just because the forecast is always the same there. Mm-hmm. And chemical cowboys and bleach bandits and so in old Spray Wash Pro, guys will remember you and I literally went to World of Concrete in Vegas to get some consensus from concrete manufacturers about care and specifications on that. Well, because there's not necessarily one gigantic manufacturer. Georgia Pacific doesn't manufacture. Concrete is an extremely localized product. Extremely.
100%.
And there's absolute, certain PSIs and some diehard ingredients in concrete, but at the same time, it varies from location to location, and it actually varies so much. For example, we had a national cemetery get built here in Tallahassee, Florida, and Spray Wash was selected to do the post-construction cleanup. And I remember the super going, I need all the concrete to match in here. And I said, well, tell me what's going on, because there's some pretty, and he said, we've had to replace concrete companies about 3 times here because of failure to perform. And we actually have a chart, a color match chart that the concrete has to match to, but you never really know if it's matching until it lays and dries and cures for a little bit on there. But even using, but just the slight variances in sand, the slight variances in the aggregate in there just made
iron contents, everything.
Man, I mean, it looked like a patchwork quilt in a lot of areas, and they would literally have the contractors come in, snatch it up. Nope, sorry, that's got to match. It's got to be perfect.
And that's next to impossible with concrete to begin with. I mean, we did one where I think the contract was somewhere very close to 1.5 million square feet of concrete that we ended up doing for this company. And, one of the jobs that we did, before and afters on all of it. And, they're like, hey, you didn't clean this area over here. It's got all these dirty spots, these darker spots. So, we went back out there, met with them out there, and met with them with the computer and the pictures that we had already sent them that were the before and afters, and showed them, no, this concrete's clean. It's just that you have anomalies in concrete. It's not gonna, it's next to impossible to get it to match, especially in such a large area, because you're going to have different pours on different days and at different times. And if it rains, if it, in our area, we're not going to get the, the freeze and thaw, but all of those things. Did they cover it with plastic? Did they do this? Did they do that? Did they put something in there to make it dry quicker? All these different things affect how that concrete dries.
Right. And absolutely. And how it dries, what mixtures are they putting in there? Are they putting any release agents? Are they putting any curing agents in there? Are they doing, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that, so there, hey buddy, your mom's home. Excuse me, one second. I love you. I'm sorry. It's a deal. But yeah, that's one of the problems. See with the concrete out there that all of this stuff is just it's incredibly tough to make it match. But as we found out in World of Concrete, there wasn't necessarily a lot of standardized, hey, this is what you need to clean concrete. But every concrete manufacturer will also tell you that bleach is not necessarily a good thing for salt or for concrete, and the salt is what becomes the bad thing for the concrete, especially in the northern areas where the concrete is getting primed and salted. And even though of a lot of these things, good night.
Good night, Finn.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night.
The salt the salt is one of the things that can cause concrete to induct more water, and it can actually reduce the freeze temps of the water, or increase the freeze temp, reduce the freeze temps of the water, and you can wind up, whenever those crystals form inside the concrete, salt crystals, it actually causes the concrete to break apart. So you're not doing anybody any favors by putting extra bleach on there and not rinsing it off. I mean, rinsing is such a huge deal on this. Really, none of this we should be leaving chemicals. I'm gonna put it like this: when it comes to post treating on anything, nowhere do you ever see a manufacturer on anything that says, yeah, leave some chemical on there. It'll be fine. Have you ever seen?
And that is something that is actually pretty standard in the industry, where the only variance really boils down to what strength is being post-treated, right? So pre-treating, same thing. There's a lot of variances in what strength people use. But in post-treating, one of the things that is the common factor is that not only do we post-treat, and then we'll use anywhere between 0.5% to, we've seen recently somebody posted 3%, but it's that's being left there, and as you drive off, and I do that myself. So that's what's common in the industry, is to post-treat and drive away. And that's where you start to run into some issues as well. Couple fold.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that, and again, I'm not trying to pick on any person, because I see it multiple times every day in a lot of the forums out here going, oh yeah, we nuked that at 50-50. We just hit that hot. We're going to nuke it 50-50. We spray everything at 50-50. I mean, so actually seeing somebody spray something only at 30% was kind of a breath of fresh air. And we're going to kind of get into this. I mean, this will be remedial for some of you older guys on here, but we're going to start talking about percentages pretty hardcore tonight. And figuring out, what is right, what do the manufacturers say on things. But so think about this too: pre-treating versus post-treating concrete, pre-treat versus post-treat concrete. If you pre-treat something, you've got an organic on there. If a typical concrete, not something that's not a bank drive-through, not a interior parking garage. I'm saying
nothing with oils and greases and all that kind of stuff. Just
right.
organic.
I'm thinking somebody's sidewalk, a driveway, and an outdoor parking lot. So we've got an algae bloom growing on that. Just like on a roof, just like on siding. Knowing what we know about bleach, that bleach is a reactive compound, that whenever bleach comes into it, it's an oxidizer for organics.
It does what it did to your shirt.
Exactly, yeah.
Other side.
when it comes into contact, and it being an oxidizer means it has a profound effect on there. Mm-hmm. So it starts to work on the biological things. Now, one of the things that happens to an oxidizer when it's working on whatever it's working on, bleach working on biological growth, is an oxidizer burns itself up. For our guys that are firefighters out there, let me equate this to oxygen being an oxidizer for fire. And what happens on there? It makes the fire grow stronger. And what else does it do?
It burns what it needs to burn.
It kills the oxygen part on there. So if you go and pre-treat a concrete with it, one, you're getting more bang for your buck because it's helping to kill the biological stuff on there. Second off, the bleach is eating itself up. Those of you who've heard the plant and property class, we talk about this all the time, and you mix. It's why our mixes don't last more than 2 or 3 days. It's, whenever I went and thinned down my bulk bleach from 12.5% to 10.5%, I use city water on there. Our city water still has biologics in there in the form of limestone. What happened? Well, within a week, my 1,000 gallons of 10.5% was useless at this point because
for a house wash, and that was it.
So if we pre-treat, the bleach is going to burn itself up, leaving behind only the salts, but making itself a lot less dangerous. If we post-treat with a higher percentage, it's going to take longer for that bleach to burn itself up. Clorox, a lot of the manufacturers say that it's going to take 3 weeks, 21 days before the bleach is rendered inert. So you can leave a problem on that concrete for up to 3 weeks on there of stuff that can still be rejuvenated, reinvigorated, because it's not really come into contact with that much organics if you sprayed it where it's already clean to really trigger off a huge reaction.
Especially now that you run the surface cleaner over the top of it. If you pre-treat and then you run the surface cleaner over the top and then you rinse it down, there really isn't much along the lines of organics left for the bleach to attack, which means that as long as it's still wet and sitting there, it's bleach.
Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. And one of the things, and I remember there, I think it was Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not positive, but there was, they had somebody had gone out there and tossed caustic beads out. And I remember hearing about this. I have not seen this with my own eyes. It's hearsay, but had cleaned a shopping center with some caustic soda out there and didn't really necessarily do a great job or rinsed it out to the parking lot. Then all of a sudden you had one of those freak storms in Phoenix that got everything wet. And a little kid was jumping through the puddles out there and, got soda burns, caustic burns on their feet because of that. Again, heard that, it's hearsay, and I hate to go along with hearsay. But if you're a Florida guy like me, Michael, you can attest to this. I mean, you could easily light up somebody's driveway. If you sprayed it down with a hot post-treatment mix, and you get a little splashy thing, and then that puddle down at the very end of it, and the kids are out playing, they could be playing in basically straight Clorox.
Cats, dogs, all that kind of stuff running around. And not only that, but there's absolutely no point. I mean, if you let's say you didn't pre-treat, but you've run your surface cleaner over the top of it, and you can see that there's some lines there or whatever, and you just want to clean it up, make it really pop, throwing a 2% is way too much. It doesn't need it. There's not enough organics there to even eat
fine.
it.
I mean, but
a 0.5% will typically even clean that out. There's no need for all that extra chemical.
Yeah,
There's just
you can downstream and be fine on this. I mean, it's really 100%. Jeff.
So let's go back to Jeff's question. Yeah, there you go.
But I did a video in one of my videos here on the Spray Wash Academy. The YouTube channel on here. If you look at it, you'll actually see. I mean, we did a driveway where we did part of a driveway without pre-treatment, and we did part of a driveway with pre-treatment, and it was 100% faster, quicker, better whenever we did the pre-treatment on there. Now, I want to say it took between 10 to 20% of the time off of, even whenever I factored in the pre-treatment of the driveway. So,
and what percentage was your pre-treatment on that one?
Oh, not strong at all. I mean, I was maybe a 2% on there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nasty driveway too. So, but I feel so. The other thing, the old axiom of dilution is the solution to pollution, and one of the ways that we neutralize our chemicals, especially our alkalines, is to water. So now at either 5.5 or 8 gallons a minute, after I go in there and pressure wash this driveway with a pre-treatment on there, I've got because one, it's been burning itself up, eating away at the organics. Two, it's now gone and literally I have put probably 100, if not more, times the amount of fluid that was on there. So it has been diluted, just out crazily diluted on there.
Mm-hmm. And that's even the point when you're looking at if you've done a roof cleaning and or even a house wash. Let's just make it a house wash. Let's say you wash the house at 1%, and then you go back and if you do a thorough rinse, how much water are you using? And now anything that's on the ground, it's nowhere near that 1%. I mean,
not at all. Not at all.
Even with a roof, if you're shooting the roof with 3%, and now you go through and do a good thorough rinse, first of all, it's burned off. Right. And then secondly, you're going through and you're adding all that water to it. If you're doing it a good thorough rinse, it's no longer a 3% mix. Though, if it's hot, remember that's increasing the strength of that.
Yep, absolutely.
We still
your surface temperatures outside are going to have a lot to do with the strength of mix as well. Because remember, whenever you get evaporation out there, you're evaporating out. The bleach stays put. The water steams off of it, so you're getting a stronger mix on there than you already think you're getting on a hot summer day. But I want to point out these things when we start talking about these ratios. First off, almost, and this dovetails into what Jeff is asking. Every manufacturer out there has a cleaning recommendation. Almost every manufacturer has a cleaning recommendation for their product, be it a wood siding, be it Georgia Pacific vinyl siding, be it hardy board, be it Drive It, be it Certainty. I mean, they all have recommendation. Be it, Devil's Dominoes,
Alucobond, yeah.
All of them, and now some of the manufacturer stuff sucks, but still they all do have a recommended, and you better start with the manufacturer's recommended stuff. And again, this thing will get watched a couple of thousand times, whenever the Yahoo guys, the YouTube guys are watching this and searching for ratios online. But this is where it's incumbent for you to understand the manufacturer's recommendations. And I dare say I have never, and Doug and I try to be stewards of this industry through Spray Wash Academy, Spray Wash Pro. I have never, ever seen a manufacturer that says, oh yeah, nuke this at 50-50. Mm-hmm. Doug, have you?
Not even close. Not even close.
No.
And they're also not they also almost every single time not almost, every single time they're saying thoroughly rinse whatever surface it is or whatever it is. It's always a thorough rinse.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. There's never and leave it on there. You're good. You're fine. Leave this on there.
And this doesn't just have to be with bleach. This can be with any chemical that we're using bleach as our main topic for this evening. But it doesn't matter if you're using the F9 products or, acid-based products or whatever it is that you're using. It's the same thing. You don't want to be leaving all these chemicals around, and you don't want to be using. What was the analogy that you were using pre-show about? What was it? EBC or even
Gold Assassin or Ground Force or Agent Clean products.
Yeah.
So,
they all require dilution. They all say
we'd love for you to use more. Hell, please use more. Use your EBC 1-to-1. I get to sell you more, but even the manufacturers go, yeah, no, don't use it. Bobby Figg, who probably has the strongest degreaser out there, with us, he goes, no, start off at 4-to-1 and then break it down if you need to past that. Mm-hmm. 100%, Doug. Don't spray 100%. 100% agree with you. So start low and then work your way back up. I was telling a young man today, I said, well, what I would start is with a 1-to-1. He was trying to get some efflow off the inside of a pool. I said, I'd start with a 1-to-1. I said, mix a little bit. Then I'd go to a 2 parts water to 1 part. Mix a little bit. Does that still work? Then go to a 3-to-1. Whenever you get to the part that's not working great, go back to the last dilution that you were using. Let's say it's the 3-to-1 and go, okay, this is my butter zone. And now you might actually get a whole pool out of this gallon of F9 F-flat. I certainly could sell you at $54 a gallon, at the regular price, as many gallons as you want, but I want you to as well have some. I don't want you to waste all of your profit on chemicals on there. I want you to have judicious use of chemicals and not, just go crazy on it, because besides it's just a waste. Regardless of the danger part of it, it becomes a waste. And who wants to be wasteful on stuff?
Our side phones are going crazy.
Yeah, I guess we're in the same group here, so we're getting contact. We're getting blown up here. The other thing, whenever we get in here and talk about these manufacturers' recommendations, the other thing that's so important for us to understand is that most manufacturer specifications are referring to household bleach and not the death juice.
6% or so.
Correct. 6. And we can figure that household bleach is could be considered anywhere from 4% SH up to 6.5% SH.
Yeah, I think that they're going to run into a little bit of I don't want to say an issue with that, because now there's the outdoor bleach. And so that's going to be changing a lot of the ratios without them even realizing it, because, people are going to get the outdoor bleach because they're going to think, well, this is going to work better.
Right.
And it is going to work better.
It is, because it's stronger. It absolutely is. But you want to, so many of these oxidized vinyl houses that people talk about the oxidation on there, we know good and well that it's that, stuff oxidizes naturally, but 9 times out of 10, we know that it's the cleaner that caused that issue. We know that it's the pressure washing contractor that caused that property to wind up oxidizing. And it might not have been you, it might have been the guy before you, but
But Ray, think about this though. How many times have you gotten a call, or how many times have we seen where somebody has posted online and they said, it didn't look oxidized before we started. I didn't realize that it was oxidized before we started. I didn't notice the oxidation before I started. It must have been oxidized before I started, but I didn't notice it. No, that might have very well been the case, or I can't see it in my pictures before, but I definitely see it after. We washed it and we exposed the oxidation.
Yeah. No,
which can be true.
It could be true, but a lot of times you've caused it, Right. And again, we mentioned that one. We're working. We're not pre-wetting. We're sitting there. We're working on hot days. We're allowing the water to evaporate out of it. I know also too many guys sit here and they want to spray the whole house. They don't work in sections or portions of it. And then finally, and this is one, I don't care whose feathers I ruffle over this. This is a lot of the dodos out there selling the gas pumps and preaching fast, 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 fast. Oh, you got to be in here fast. You got to be in here in 30 minutes or less, Oh, yeah, we washed this house in about 30 minutes. The other day we made $400. Oh, crap. You know what? They're paying you great money. Take your time and be there. Mm-hmm. Stop it, You're out. You should do a side of a house, maybe two sides of a house, rinse it, cool it back down, get rid of the bleach after it's done its work. How much bleach? Well, I can tell you because I've got Georgia Pacific pulled up right here. And, there's not a lot of manufacturers of vinyl siding out there. There really isn't. You've got Certainty, you've got Georgia Pacific. There may be a few other little off brands out there. But
I wonder if they're still even making steel sidings. I haven't seen steel siding out there in a while.
I haven't seen it in a minute. There's actually some new metal sidings out there, some architectural grade metal stuff.
Yeah, it's much thinner metal than what what used to be.
Yeah, back from the old pushing 10 aluminum siding days and all of that. Mm-hmm. But so they're saying 1/3 cup of detergent, 2/3 cup TSP, trisodium phosphate, which you technically can't get anymore. And TSP serves as a degreaser. So you could go in there with a mild degreaser, like an Agent Blue. Technically, gutter butter, kind of a degreaser. It is a degreaser. It's a butyl-based degreaser. So a third of a cup of detergent, 2/3 of a cup of sodium triphosphate, a quart of sodium hypochlorite, 3 quarts water. So and it says a 5% solution. So they're saying household bleach. Mm-hmm. So if we went and broke this down, that would be 3 quarts to 1 quart at 5%. That's, if we went and made that a 10% on there, what did we figure that was? If we were using our 12.5%, or 10.5% on there, we would actually be going in here at 1 quart to 6 quarts water out there, which would roughly be still about a 1.25% mixture on there. You don't realize, 1.3%. It's still a pretty hot freaking mixture. I mean, hold on, let me get this.
And Wild West is saying the young guys need to go learn fractions. Would be a good start. And we're sitting trying to figure out the fractions of it, going, yeah. It's sometimes it's hard when you're trying to break it down, because when you look at 12% and then you look at 10%, 12.5%, 10.5%, and then you look at the 9%, and then you look at maybe say a 6%, all those percentages break it down. I mean, even more as you're going along, and it can be hard to sit there and calculate that out. And even the proportioner over there, I mean, that's more a generalized thing, because it's basing it on anywhere between the 10.5% and 12.5% solution.
But we run all the tests, but that's also why we have markings at 0.5 and 1%, and 1.5 and 2, and then even over here on the suggested soft washing ratios, delicate surfaces, vinyl siding, 0.5 to 1.5. So we're in that manufacturer's recommendation, even if we're using 12.5% on this. For the love of me, I've never understood why none of the knockoffs have actually ever bothered to test and make a freaking label on there. It wasn't that hard. Get your damn labels on there. Stop going, I've talked to guys because I've seen every different manufacturer come into my store. Well, how do you tell what it's on? Well, yeah, the guy that sold it to me said, I put it about a 2 here and maybe a 5 here. And, we just kind of do it. But a lot of times, honestly, he told me just to run it at 50-50. Yeah, you're killing a lot of plants. Yeah, I kind of am. Why is that? Because you've had crappy training. That's why.
Yeah. Hey, Ray, let me interrupt for a second. Something that I mean to do every single week, and I forget every single week, but we'd really appreciate it if you guys share this out, like it, all that kind of stuff. Like, subscribe on YouTube, but if you can, share it out in the different groups, share it out on your page, whatever the case may be, and give us a little bit of love. Anyhow, back to regular broadcasting.
Absolutely. Well, and so again, you have the markings on there, and we've made this. And going back to what Jeff says, and this is the basis of the plant and property protection class, where we get in there and I'm sitting here reading off of the slideshow from the plant and property class out there. This is where we get in there and say, and we're not sitting there just saying, hey, we're going to do the work for you, because we tell you, guys, it's out there, and not only,
and it's changing.
It changes all the time. And not only are you being, safer by doing this, you're using this as a sales tool. Whenever somebody comes in there and they say, oh, we're going to nuke it, or and you're selling against them, and, you start talking that the manufacturer actually recommends that you're using a 25% solution of a 5% solution of bleach, which would, roughly come in there to a 12% solution of a 10% bleach on there. Now, all of a sudden, they're kind of listening to you as an expert. At least the customers that that don't care about price and care about quality are listening to you.
One of the aspects of selling, on the sales side of the chemicals and all that, if it's me and I'm going out and I'm trying to sell, especially if I know, or if I see pressure washing damage, right? Or if I'm talking about, pricing, or if they bring up a pricing objection, well, XYZ company quoted me, half as much, kind of a thing. All of this can be brought back around to say, we are judiciously using our chemicals correctly. And so my point in bringing that up is simply that pressure washing has a very negative aura or feel around it nowadays, because all of the years that pressure washing was used incorrectly, because pressure washing can be used correctly and do good things and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when used incorrectly, it is very damaging, right? It penetrates, it breaks window seals, it all this kind of stuff. Okay.
It just paint colors, it ruins siding. Keep talking, Doug. I'll be right back.
My point to this is that we're going to end up with that same thing where it comes to soft washing, where they're going to say, you know what, the last time I had my house soft washed, it killed my plants, or it did this, or it caused this problem, or it caused that problem. So by continuously adding too much chemical, you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to be able to get this job done faster, quicker, better, easier. And for those of you that know me, know that I like to say, are you building your business for today, or are you building your business for tomorrow? So the splash and dash, or the guys that are using way too hot of a mix, to me, you're building your business for today, because it's going to be harder to sustain that tomorrow when your customers start realizing that the damage is being caused by the excess chemical usage that you're using, or that the industry is using, which gives the industry a bad name, which then turns people away from it, as they've done with pressure washing.
Right. And, and think about it, Doug, you were in this almost as long as I was out there. And over the past 2 to 3, I'd say 3 years, whenever, pressure washing really started getting very popular, and more importantly, soft washing started getting more and more popular, I was the biggest in my market. You were the biggest in your market. We got calls every week about my house is messed up. My property's messed up. What's happened here? Could you come and take a look at this? Which we never had in years before on there. And I would say almost every bit of the time, it was by the newer guy out there who got poor training, the guy that I know never would sit there and bother to pull up what manufacturer specifications are, and went under the thought of nuke it.
Well, and just so you guys know, I mean, we do some things back end wise that that help promote Spray Wash Pro and Pro members. And so with that, I think it's probably been 2-3 months ago, and being old, maybe it was 4 months. I don't know, but I think it was only about 2 or 3 months ago. I had homeowner call me and wanted to discuss. They had they had their house washed and some issues that had happened, and asking for our opinion on the process of how it was done, and did the contractor cause the damage, and this kind of thing. So these people are reaching out and looking for expert advice on, was this done correctly? Because I'm noticing this problem, whatever that problem happens to be. So using the excess chemicals, which is where we're going, is not the right thing to do.
Right. No, it's not, and I unfortunately, I'm of the mindset that I think more pressure washing companies should get sued. I think more pressure washing companies should be held accountable. Should be held accountable for what's going on. And I want to give a shout out to Billy. I am
Billy, good to see you doing better.
Absolutely. So happy to hear that. I saw that prayer request for you come out the other day, and glad you're doing better.
A little bit better. So let's also take it this direction. That I think that some people are missing the oxygen factor. Okay. Sorry, I like to chew ice. I'm chewing it. I don't know why. It's me. But a lot of people are missing the oxygen factor. Sometimes if you use less, it introduces more oxygen in, which actually does a better job than a flood coat does. So sometimes by just throwing 100% on there and trying to flood it, are you going to maybe get a little bit quicker, a little bit? Sure, maybe. But at what cost is it actually going to take? Not only the chemical cost is, let's face it, chemical costs are going up. So maybe that is starting to become a factor when you don't even need that to be a factor anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Use a little bit less, allow a little bit more oxygen in there. It will clean. It will do its job. I'm not a very patient guy to begin with, but that's what it takes in this business, a little bit of patience, right? And that's it. Don't need all that.
I want to answer this real quick. Now the percent of SH is by weight or volume, since that has changed and it's not noted by the manufacturers. And that is true, but at the same time, the percent of SH is also the active SH in there. So regardless of whether it's weight or volume on there, and it's the active amount. And so it does roughly equate. So really, you got to change that by volume more than anything than weight. And
most of it is by volume.
It's very hard to measure that water by weight and not by volume. So I'd always be, doing it by that. So I think Billy's a really good guy. I've always enjoyed the stuff that he's done out there. So, Brenda, you're late. We waited on you, darling.
We purposely started late, just waiting for you. But
absolutely, we just got started. So, and again, so talking about this and going back to this thing about the weight versus volume, we kind of have to go back to the solution and the strength thing, because that's where the manufacturers are sitting there going with the strength and really where I say it really kind of equates, because the weight of the SH also has to do with the amount of salt that's in there that actually equates really, really well with the strength of, little giveaway from our class. A lot of people don't understand this. Guys, You're wondering why you're causing damage whenever you're using too much bleach. Doug, how much salt is in a gallon of 12% SH?
A crap load, let me tell you that. I wish we still had the little petri dish. I need to do that again, actually, because in a gallon of SH, what is it?
1.25 pounds in a gallon of SH.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So
if you look at it, it is a massive amount of salt that you're introducing to the property, like especially like on a roof cleaning.
If you sprayed out 2 gallons of a 50-50 mix, you literally just took a carton of Morton salt.
More than 2 pounds.
Yeah, more. Yeah, no. Well, if it's 1.25 pounds, if that's per gallon, if you sprayed out 2 gallons of a 50-50
of mix. Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you said 2 gallons of FH. My bad.
You literally just took a pound of salt and pounded in a quarter of salt and threw it in their flower beds. Think about that. Think about how much freaking salt there's. How much salt is in seawater? 4.5 ounces of salt is in seawater. Seawater is pretty freaking salty.
Now, just know that there are low salt bleaches out there, but most of y'all aren't getting a low salt bleach. I can tell you that.
Most of y'all aren't, Yeah. No.
I would probably say 98.972% of you don't get a low salt bleach.
No. Not at all. Not at all. I'm sitting here just going through a couple of the, Hardy Board. That's one of those that Hardy Board. They're very, very specific about, the Hardy Board's real sneaky about doing this, because Hardy Board doesn't necessarily say use bleach. They say use 3 different products. They say use Mold Armor, Mildew Check, or Jomax, which then says to mix with bleach. So they kind of go and kick the onus off of them of doing that and put it with someone else out there. Arma's a great, for so long as roof cleaning, Arma has been our holy grail of the roof cleaning thing. When people would ask us, hey, do you rinse a roof? Well, you know what? Arma says that I rinse a roof. So yeah, I'm going to say that I rinse a roof, and
I can tell you that helped me in business quite a bit, because here I have a noted authority saying that you should be rinsing the roof. And I bring that up to customers. And then that way, when the next person comes along and they say, do you rinse? Oh, no, there's no need. It helps this. It helps that. It does this. It does that. They just lost the job, because the noted, authority on it, if you would, Arma, is the one that's saying rinse the roof.
Right. The association that all the manufacturers have. And so Arma has things here from anywhere from 1 gallon of household bleach to 5 gallons of water, or to 2.5 gallons each of household bleach and water. So what does that say on there? So we can go a 50-50 of bleach, household bleach, which would be basically a 25% of our 10.5% on there, wouldn't you say? I mean, that's so a 50-50 of household bleach and water, or a ratio wise, going percentages, we could say that's about a 25% mixture of our hot mix on there. And you know what? On the right days, yeah, that actually works. And I know everybody's going, oh, work fast, nuke it. Don't nuke it. I mean, do what the manufacturer says out there. Mm-hmm. That's what's so important. And,
so David Rivas, I mean, I know that we're not getting to that one yet, but is asking, what is bleach, what is SH, all that kind of stuff. And I can't believe that he can't remember this. Again, we've been over this 1,000 times. That's deodorant for Southern Louisiana. Remember that, David. It's something you need to be using. Remember that. We've had this discussion, boss.
That's funny. That's funny. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, David doesn't use deodorant. Have you been around David lately?
Being on them Louisiana folks right there. But yeah, Brenda, that's a ton of salt out there. So if you're sitting here, if you did if you use 40 gallons on a roof in a house, that's literally 50 pounds of salt that you're introducing into that landscape. Think about it. If you went in there and took two 25-gallon bags of salt and spread that out equally in these people's flower beds, do you think it might impact their landscape? Yeah, I guarantee you it would. I guarantee you it would impact their landscaping out there if you didn't do any mitigation.
Any way of getting that out of there?
The PwC said still batch mixing 2 gallons of 10% in a 65-gallon tank, cleans well on vinyl every time. Cleans our typical one-story home with 15 gallons total of our mix. So, and let's break this math down right there. So 2 gallons, and I'm going to use 10%. 2 gallons of 10% in a 65-gallon tank. I mean, that's going to be 2 gallons to 20 gallons would be. I mean, you're going very, very light.
That's an extremely light mix. Yeah,
extremely light mixture, and it's working.
That's very good.
And the other thing that people forget to talk about all the time is just downstreaming. I can literally clean just about anything in the world with a downstreamer, which is going to get me anywhere from a 0.7 to maybe a 1.25 mixture, right? Can we agree on that with a downstreamer? Depending on the orifice size that I'm using and the length of hose that I'm using, and is it a high draw and blah, 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 blah. People say, well, you can't clean roofs downstreaming. You absolutely can. I may have to go over that roof 6 or 7 times, but I absolutely can clean that with a downstream. 100%. Okay. Let's go. I sell low pressure cleaning. Most customers want soft washing. You don't know the difference, so you educate them. I'm not a fan of soft washing a house. I don't know. I like soft washing, but I think that's why. But I was also spray wash exterior cleaning on there. I like not having to pigeonhole myself into whatever. Because I mean, yeah, we got a pressure wash.
There are times where a low pressure cleaning is better than a soft washing. There are times when a high pressure cleaning is better than a soft washing. There's time. I mean, having all of the tools in the tool shed, if you would, as we say, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, kind of a thing. So having many different tools. I'm definitely a soft wash fan. I'm not into the low pressure cleaning or high pressure. I mean, all of it has its place, but for me, I'm definitely a soft wash guy.
I read a really, really good. I'm actually gonna read this. And this is from Burco Corp, who's a SH manufacturer. I'm going to read this to answer this question, Marco. Sodium hypochlorite are produced by percolating chlorine gas in controlled amounts through a solution of sodium hydroxide in the water. True. There's also the salt method where they electrify. There's a couple of different methods for making this. You can also have the chlorine generators where they electrify salt water as well. When the reaction completed, there is 1 to 2% excess of sodium hydroxide present in the solution. That is actually technically the more stable of the bleaches because sodium hydroxide actually helps to stabilize chlorine bleach. I'm going to skip ahead here. So factors that promote sodium hypochlorite decomposition are heat, light, metal ions, including water hardness, low pH, and soil. The decomposition is exponential, not linear. So you're not going to go like that. You're going to go, and it's going to level off after a while. So a significant amount of decomposition occurs after the first week after production. The best storage conditions are a cool, dark room and a closed, opaque container. Sodium hypochlorite solutions containing less than 7.5% available chlorine are the most stable. If the intended shelf life for the product is greater than 30 days, such as household laundry bleach, we recommend purchasing a product containing less than 7.5% available chlorine, which is initially produced around 6% to ensure 5.25% in the consumer product. So even if you go and package it in an opaque container, it's still going to degrade.
And the whole point of that is that the higher the concentration is, the faster it drops off. It does get to a point where it levels off.
The higher the initial, the higher the available chlorine level, the faster the initial decomposition rate of the product. Typically, a product made at 12.5% available chlorine will have decomposed to 10% within a week of manufacture under the best of storage and handling conditions. You know, so
it isn't until you get below that 7%, and really, I'm going to say probably closer to that 5%, that you really level out, and it takes a lot longer for it to degrade down from there.
Absolutely. So, you know, and I know that we've shown up several times back whenever I used to get bleach. And then before that, whenever we would show up all at Pinch a Penny, you know, and there'd be 3 or 4 of us, you know, waiting in line, and they're filling the tanks up, and then started getting, you know, I don't have my own storage tanks. And you'd be like, damn, that's some hot stuff. And the driver would be like, yeah, I think they made it a little hot this time, you know, because it's the middle of the summer and they know that it's just going to wear out.
It's just going to die out. You know, the funny part for me was it worked out really well for me on one, because we had, I think it was 1,200 gallons delivered to us, and it was already weak when it got to us. So, and I don't remember the concentrations anymore. I think it was down around 9%, if I remember correctly. And so, you know, I returned it to the manufacturer, and they ended up calling me up and like, you know, we can't sell this. You know, we got to get rid of it. Would you take it if we just gave it to you? And I'm like, heck yeah, you know. So they brought it all back to me, and I was able to use it for washing buildings with, because I could still make a good 1% mix out of it. You know, it was running at 9. I think at the time when I got it back, it was closer to an 8%. But man, figure out the ratios on it and go.
And Henry's saying he's like, he shouldn't be batch mixing at 50-50 for every job. Yeah, always had stuff getting clean with any less. Yeah, you're right. And Henry is kidding, because he's PwC. Oh, still batch mixing. Yeah, South Carolina. Perfect. So I'm going back to see what he was referring to.
Gotcha. South Carolina.
He going all around. Who is that? I can't tell who that is. PwC only soft wash in that booster in a box. Hold on. Ballpark price. Yeah, I'm gonna go about ballpark. That ballpark was about 7,000 feet long. That would be that ballpark for the booster in a box. Somewhere right in there. And I could probably include that, you know, shipping on there, as long as it's not someplace bizarre. Yeah, there, you know, Brenda, in all honesty, when Doug and I first got into this business, I mean, Doug got into it a little bit after I did. We both had joined a network of a guy, and that was what he recommended: apply with a 12-volt and rinse with a garden hose. He was very anti-pressure washer. I think he finally came around and started using a pressure washer option on the rigs, but it was no, you rinse with a, you rinse with a garden hose on here. Pressure washers are the devil. You're not supposed to use those at all.
And Brenda, it was awesome to see your dad out there doing that. I think you said he was 80 years old or something like that, and he was out there rinsing with the garden hose. That's awesome.
Where am I reading that from? That was, hold on. That is from BirkoCorp.com. BirkoCorp.com. And I assume they're a manufacturer. I'll type it in. Go corp.com. All right.
Just a different way of spelling Burke.
Gary, it just say yes if that's you. It could be Gary. I'm not sure. I just don't know who that is. It's just showing up as user. Oh Lordy! So 86.87 next month. He is amazing.
Oh wow.
Yep.
For some reason, I was thinking he was 80, but that's even better.
Yep. So I have made some more notes here, and let me check. Let me see what else I've done. So the manufacturers put ratios on there for a reason. We talked about that. When you see the suggested ratio, understand how to scale from the household bleach to the bleach that we're using, because and that is the dirty little secret that 5% SH is the same thing, and you may have some additives on a laundry bleach, but it is all the same. It's just a diluted amount of the active SH in there. Try the manufacturer's specifications first. Always do that, because like I said earlier, there's honestly more pressure washing, soft washing companies that need to get sued out there. And I think the more that happens and the more consumer awareness that comes out there, you are going to have more lawsuits out there. And as Bo just said, the president of the PWNA will tell you, they have literal information and proof that these insurance guys and these manufacturers like Sherwin-Williams are out here. They have infiltrated these groups because they're bringing it up to the reps for the PWNA going, your industry is telling people to washed up at 50-50. They're saying nuke it. They're saying use straight. They're saying, they're literally causing this damage. And this is something as professionals, we have a very hard time, because let's say that I'm going to go large here and say that 30% of our industry is not in it for, the flash in the pan thinking I can get rich overnight, and are really good quality contractors out there. I mean, it's a hard sell to sit there and say, yeah, but we're not all like that. We're not all, hey, spray it at 50-50. There's a certain percentage of us that actually are going to do it right and read manufacturers' recommendations, and we get extra training like plant and property protection, or a PWNA certification course, or a Spray Wash Academy course, or something like that,
So Ray, name me two things that we clean that we should it's really okay, and we should probably be using 100% straight SH on. There's two, nothing and nothing. Period.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I love when I see that, man, I use 100% straight bleach. That it works great, cleans it up, does this. Man, there is absolutely no need for 100% SH on anything ever. There just isn't. Okay, so I mean, if you're not going to get it with 50-50, you're probably not going to get it with 100%. If it's an organic, right? Now, again, everything is with time, and you have to allow the chemical the time to do its job. You might have to add a little bit of surfactant to help it break the surface tension, because if anything, I would rather use a 40% mix ratio with more soap, to allow it to penetrate and do its job, than to even consider 100%. It's just,
that whole term of dwell time is there for a dwell time isn't something we just pulled out of the keister. dwell time is real. We want, let it sit there and work for a while. That's why we cool siding down. We want the chemical to work for a while. How many times have we done? I mean, read any household cleaner in the world, and it's, let it sit. When we started talking about, the big joke about COVID, you go into any sanitizer in the world, and whether you're killing the AIDS vaccine or the COVID AIDS vaccine, the AIDS virus or the COVID virus or the herpes or whatever it is you're killing, there's actually on any of those cleaners, even household bleach,
there's a recommended
say to let it dwell for a period, let it sit for a period. That joke of a show that during COVID, whenever the hostess would walk over and spray your table down and wipe it off, all she's done is just spread germs around because you've not had sufficient dwell time to kill squat.
Mm-hmm. You got to give it time to do its job. That's the whole point of it. That's the whole basis.
And whenever you're killing something, be it a virus, be it an algae, be it a bacteria, be it a mold, sometimes it takes stuff a little bit of time to kill. And guys, don't be these people that are saying, hey, how fast can I do this? How fast can I do it? Give the people the value for their money. Come on, man. Oh, but I can't make, unless I get, 8 houses a day at $99, I'm not making any money. Raise your freaking price.
That's it. If you're not making money, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, anyway.
Price shop. He uses 100% SH on you.
Yeah, and again, downstreaming, David, you're absolutely
add
right.
Extra soap.
100%. I used to, Doug, you've seen me come around on this whole downstreaming thing, and I'll gladly apologize to, Bo Setti as well. But I used to never downstream. In the last couple of years, I did a lot more downstreaming than I ever did because I realized, wow, this crap works,
Yeah.
It really does. Doesn't work for roofs.
And
stucco.
how expensive is soap? When you really think about it, if used correctly, because that's one of the arguments that you see all the time. Well, I don't want to use that much soap. It's expensive, right? I mean, you get guys like Dave. I'm going to pick on David Rivas again, because right here where he was saying, this is why I downstream almost everything. I'd say 85 to 90% of what we do is downstreaming. And I use a good bit of soap because he knows if he prices it accordingly, the soap doesn't.
David's never paid for soap. David's never paid for soap. His customers have paid for soap,
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and Michael's right. Downstreaming is an art. It takes a little, you kind of gotta know what you're doing, on there.
With any of it, you got to know what you're doing.
Yep. And you're right. The stucco, that's whenever you use your dedicated pump. Your roofs, that's when you use your dedicated pumps. We are seeing more. And this is something that a lot of these old school guys, we sit there and scratch our heads. And even with the booster pumps, we never used as much as, these guys are using these AR-60s for house washing on there. They're using the big Comets for house washing. That's crazy. I mean, they were really, really handy. These larger gas pumps were amazing. Whenever we were doing these 45, 60, 100,000 square foot buildings and roofs for Florida State University and FAMU University and for the state of Florida, they were amazing. But I got to be honest, they're overkill for the average house.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely are,
Yeah, absolutely.
Flow Pro, absolutely. All right, so and I said pumps. It's all about more, 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 more. More weak sauce is just as bad as a little bit of strong sauce. For that, for anybody out there who thinks, oh, well, a weak sauce is just a lot of weak sauce, it winds up having a cumulative effect for you guys that don't realize that. If you ever burnt yourself, if you ever had a bleach burn, right? And then it doesn't matter whether you put more 20% on it or if you put a 1% on there, it burns just the same. That's how your plants are. That's how anything. It's just, it adds up. It's very, very, very cumulative on the surface that you're working on. So, just again,
Todd, you're late to the show, buddy.
I just cannot express enough how important it is for that judicious use of chemical. And we might get into some tiles, some really nasty, nasty tiles where we have to go at a 50%. These concrete tiles or these Mexican, Hispanic barrel tiles.
Cement tile.
And yeah, we've used some really strong mixtures on that. And then there's even soaps like Agent Green that will boost your SH, where you can put less salt on the ground, but work at a higher pH. And still, I've got guys that I send out Agent Green to every month that are doing, barrel tiles and flat tiles where they were spraying it at 50/50, and now they're spraying it at 35/40 and adding in a healthy dose of Agent Green out there. They've said, hey, we've said that for years, just, it's kind of amazing.
I have to admit, Ray, there have been a couple instances where I sprayed or started to spray a roof at 100% with using a 12.5% bleach, but that's only because I screwed up in my dials, and I was priming and forgot to turn the water back on.
Turn it back on, yeah.
You get back up there, and you're like, this stuff is,
yeah. Yeah, Dave's talking about the check valve downstreamers. Yeah, they work great, and you can really get a nice high percentage. I'd love to know, David, if you ever check and see what you're actually pulling on there. I'd love to see the actual percentages that you feel you're getting. And I want like a video coming out of your 5-gallon bucket on there, and let's figure that out, because those check valve downstreams are pretty amazing. And yes, Agent Green in the winter, 100% good stuff. Again, it's going to boost up. Agent Green is one of those guys, and especially like back 4 years ago in Florida, I was like, yeah, Agent Green, yay, great, whatever. My bleach is 98 cents a gallon here. Well, bleach is not 98 cents a gallon anymore, anywhere that I know of. So it was more expensive to use the Agent Green. But then in guys that are up where it gets colder a lot more, it's important because you can extend your roof cleaning season out a fair amount by using stuff like the Agent Green. You can clean roofs through December in a lot of areas by using this booster such as
You remember the pixie dust?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
I haven't even seen that mentioned in a long time.
Because if you're batch mixing, because you couldn't throw it in your bleach tank because it would eat it up like that.
Exactly.
Don't know if you mentioned, but if you throw 3% on a hot roof, we did mention that, Henry. 100%. Yeah, it's going to evaporate. Evaporation is
the water evaporates out of it like right now, and you are definitely putting a hotter mix on. And you're releasing a lot of chlorine gas.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're not up there with a freaking respirator, you're doing horrible damage to yourself, And I got a message here I need to look at quickly.
Yeah. We could get into the whole respirator thing, but I think I'm definitely one of those guys. I just think that anybody that's out there spraying bleach, even if it's a house wash mix, I'm very pro use your respirator, because this is not a part-time thing. It's not once every 6 months that you're out there doing. You're spraying bleach every single day, and you're eating up all that mucus and stuff, and that is there to protect you and protect your body. So I think it's ignorant not to wear your respirator. And I had very staunch rules. I mean, if I showed up to a job and you're not wearing your respirator, you're out of there. You're gone. It's just that easy, because I'm not going to be responsible for you not being around for your grandkids. Brenda is saying that Pat Clark spoke of the pixie dust, I believe, in the past. Yeah.
So pixie dust was something that, and I'm actually talking to Perry about coming on next week as a segue into this next week's things. I'd love to have Perry on. He's a wealth of information out there. So pixie dust was potassium per. I can't even think of it, but Leslie sold it as free and clear, and you could basically take a double handful of it and toss it into your bleach, and it would release every freaking bleach atom available. It would heat it up. I mean, it would go ba-bam, So the problem is kind of like using Jomax, though. Within 3 to 4 hours, you're gone. You're dead. It's us old cleaners that used to use Jomax, where you would literally pour, Jomax and bleach into a bucket and spray that on the houses. That shit cleaned amazing. However, if you didn't use it all within 2 hours, the stuff that was sitting in your bucket was trashed. It was dead, Oh. Somebody's going to blame you on you. Okay, Steve. Speaking of facts, I'm even to absorb this information here. Guys, slinging saw, so they are 60s 1-inch manifolds. Amen, Steve. Oh my gosh, you're so 100% right. Yes. I mean, a 12-volt pump, one of these, sitting there on a 0.5. I mean, the bleach is literally trickling out versus something with your ASHII or whatever it is valves that you have that nobody's ever bothered to make freaking stickers for, because those run at 94% efficiency.
Why don't they make stickers for it, Ray? Think about it.
Because everybody that's ever built one of these has just copied Tim Hazelton.
Right, but the other thing is that they're too cheap to do
exactly.
that.
That's the sad part.
You have to be like any other business. You've got to make money. If you want to do things right, the proportioner is built right, and hence you get the stickers and all that. And you think, they're just stickers, but they mean something. When you're washing and your dials are setting there, it's all about quality and what you do, and helps you get there with it.
And Steve's 100% right, especially whenever wholesale price of bleach has gone up 65, 70 cents for a lot of guys. Wholesale price of bleach over the summer. So, Michael, congratulations. Not a cigarette in 18 days. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Very, very good.
Mm-hmm. And I bet you're feeling it now. I mean, you're getting off the cigarettes. You're probably absorbing that. You're feeling that bleach, the effects of the bleach now.
And that's actually very true. We actually used to have a big problem with the Henry brought up. He brought a proportioner and not the valves. Couldn't get lower than a 1.5% mix with it, and it's true. A lot of these other valves won't pull a lower percentage thing. We used to have a big problem with the soap on there on our proportioners, and so that's one of the reasons we necked them down, and then you had to go and crank it up to reprime the soap every time. Also, part of the reason whenever you buy a gallon of apple wash, we say, hey, go ahead and put 2 to 3 gallons of water in here and thin the crap down, because you have a very, very, very hard time spraying at a 1% or less on a lot of the metering valves that are out there.
Yeah, Tim hated my ratios, hated me advertising my ratios, but he liked it at the same time, because he's like, it's true. You can break it down that much, but man, it sure affects the sales. But yeah, it's that the Apple Wash is great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I was laughing. I had a buddy who's making soap, a competing soap, and I'm sure I'll wind up carrying it. He's like, Ray, I'm making this soap, and it's amazing, and you're going to be so proud of me. I was like, why? He said, it doesn't smell like apples. And I said, yes. Somebody that made a freaking soap that doesn't smell like apples.
Mm-hmm. Michael J., that's super awesome, dude.
And I don't know what the active ingredient is in Agent Green, Van, and you could probably pull up a SDS sheet that will tell you one of them. All I know is it works. I mean, I always like to, first off, let me give you, and I'm not accusing you of this whatsoever. I'm just, and if I get passionate about it, this isn't directed to you whatsoever. There's a lot of guys out there who will go and say, oh, what's the active ingredient? I want to do that. I'm going to give Agent Halt, for example. So people are like, well, that's just sodium thiosulfate. That's just thiosulfate. So I'm going to go and create thiosulfate. I'm just going to add thiosulfate to that. Well, you know what? Thiosulfate might be the active ingredient in Agent Halt, but it's by no means it's one of the
many
ingredients. Yeah. Well, one of the 4 principal ingredients in there. That includes water softeners. That includes bleach neutralizers. That includes PTFE waxes. That includes something else I'm not going to tell you about out there. So Agent Green, you might find out one. So there's all these chemicals out there that people say, oh, well, I'm just going to figure out the active ingredient in it. And the active ingredient can help you out there. But so many of these chemicals, these guys have put so much. I mean, they've actually dealt with
chemists. There's a lot of research and development that actually goes into this stuff.
It hasn't been just me and you going, yeah, screw it, we're going to try this. I mean, whenever you start selling something, the market kind of takes hold on there, and either it sucks and it's going to go away, or it's going to get legs and continue to grow. Agent Green's one of those that's continued to grow, but it's one of the, but anyway, the other thing I was going to say too is go on to Spray Wash Academy, research our videos, search Agent Green, and we've actually done multiple videos of does it boost chlorine's enhancement, which we've shown that it does. If you consider eating an organic pigment, that it works faster than just regular bleach, eating an organic pigment, and also that. How does it work against cold bleach? Does it make cold bleach work faster? And we showed that on a video as well out there. So,
Steve Webb is very, very correct here, by the way. 90% of our industry right now don't even know what exact percentage they're applying. It's a huge liability to send techs out scorching everything. Appreciate you guys and the truth being discussed. Absolutely. I guess that's part of the point here, is that a lot of guys have no idea the actual strength that they're spraying. And when they come back and they say, man, I killed these plants, why? Or I burned this, and why? And, I've been spraying this way for a long time and never had a problem, and why? It's because you truly don't know the percentages that you're spraying. And that's one of the reasons that I got into the whole discussion of drawdown tests, even on your proportioners, right? You can get a piece of debris stuck, and if something doesn't seem right, you should be doing drawdown tests to find out, am I still hitting my 1% or my 3% or 5%?
Are you doing that?
It's not a difficult thing to do.
Well, Doug, as we always talk about in plant and property, and even in the basics course, I mean, if you spray something on there and your mildew immediately flashes black and disappears, guess what? You're spraying too hot.
Yep.
You want that maybe a little flash and then a turn from dark from black to dark brown to medium brown to light brown and a slow fade away. Otherwise, you're causing damage that may not be evident for 6 months or so. But two, you're costing yourself a lot of money. And what did I see Todd just said? So $230 in April, $410 now. That's almost 100% increase. I mean, that's 90%, if my math is right there.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for sharing that, both Todd and Steve. You're both spot on, and both of you are amazing washers. Well,
that's why he has to keep, that's why he keeps moving locations.
Yeah. And that's one of the things why the Jomax worked so well, because you mixed an acid and a base there together, and you went, whoa, this is amazing for 2 hours, and now it's nothing, Mm-hmm. Jacob, he understands that. He lives on Hoth. Yeah. Another mixing valve system, 1% might be up. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Somebody had made a comment. There was a thread somewhere the other day about the inefficiency of George Fisher valves. A lot of people don't realize one of the things that they call up like, well, we can't get George. They don't make George Fisher valves in such and such a size. Actually, for us, they do. A lot of the George Fisher valves we use are custom George Fisher valves. Just because you can't get them doesn't mean we can't get them. So understand what you're talking about before you talk about it. But that's always been a problem in this industry.
Yeah.
16 ounces Agent Green, 8 ounces Agent Blue per batch. Amen. Agent Blue is yep. Agent Blue is kind of the unsung little hero out there. It's a great mild degreaser, and it's a good surfactant as well.
Yeah. It's good not to be Dexter the scientist, by the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Amen. You don't want to be Dexter the scientist.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Doug, you know what?
Know
we have wasted another hour and a half of these people's time. So, guys, those of y'all who've listened, thank y'all very much, and we appreciate it. And please, again, share the word, understand, and whenever you see people talk, you know what? Be that guy. Be that guy that says, stop. What manufacturer says 50-50? Because unless we rein this industry in, we are going to be looking at a crap show of monumentous proportions. We are going to have
the pressure washing industry
that nobody can afford out there. We are going to have would you rather regulate yourself, or would you rather the government step in and regulate?
I want the government to help me.
Yeah, because they do such an amazing job
of it. They're so good with my money and everything.
I mean, get out there and be, I'm not saying be the ultimate, the pentultimate douchebag about things, but say, where does it say spray anything at 50-50? There are manufacturers' recommendations out there. Please tell me where George Fisher Siding says spray 50-50. Man, Brenda. All right, Doug, let's get off. Guys, I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
See you next week.